Welcome back to SheCan, where role models inspire. Welcome to SheCan, Padmasini Dayananda. You are a award-winning tech leader with over 25 experience in driving digital transformation, social sustainability, and business growth. You're the number 4 in the top 10 diverse leaders in UK tech, and you recently set up your strategic advisory and coaching program to elevate women leaders in tech, transformwithpadma.com. You help women in tech to lead boldly, live fully, rise unapologetically, and accelerate their growth. Padma, tell us a bit more about yourself and how you feel you got to where you are today.
Thank you for having me, Stephanie. It's always humbling to hear the introduction, but I take every bit of that with a lot of pride, and because it has been part of my life journey. Always say it doesn't matter where you start, that doesn't decide where you go. So my life started in India, uh, born to a pair of dad who worked in the army, and mom was a housewife. We traveled a lot around India as part of his job. Every 2 years, we had to move to a new town or a new city. And that is equivalent to moving to different countries in Europe. So basically, you have to learn a new language, you learn new cuisines, you got to make friends. By the time you've made a friend, it's time to move on. So I think that built into me a very strong sense of adventure, with little expectation of the outcome, because you never stay to see the outcome, right? You just go in, you make friends, you try to adapt, you try to fit in, get through your 2 or 3 years school and move on. That sense of adventure is what got me so far, I believe. And because a lot of the things that I was offered, or the opportunities that came by, I had two options. One, to feel, gosh, I don't know anything about this, so I'm not going to do that, versus, let's try this. If somebody thinks I can do it, why can't I believe in myself? So my journey in Crisp has been with a technology firm across three different countries. I have worked in the US, I worked in the UK, India, and a lot of sales role in Europe. And it meant that I explored different roles that were offered to me. Uh, and I grew with that. I didn't have a plan of where I should be in 10 years, 15 years. It was just going in with that sense of adventure and excitement, which got me this far.
Padma, so tell us a little bit more in detail about those roles you held that basically propelled you to where you are today, where you have 25 years experience in different roles in different places that make you a unique person to mentor and coach the next generation of women in tech.
I stumbled into technology. So I'm an electronics and communication engineer by qualification. And in those times, this is the Y2K period. I'm not
Mm.
sure, for many of this generation may not have heard of Y2K. It was the year 2000 when people thought the computer will not be able to handle the 2000, the 00 in the date, and the whole world would come crashing down, the technology would fail. So, given that situation, there was a massive hiring across the tech industry to have lots of engineers to go in and fix the code when that 2000 struck, and that things can be brought back online. So I was hired as part of that. I didn't intend to join a tech company. I thought technology is boring, it's nerdy. I like working with people, I like problem solving, and I don't want to be sitting in a corner just writing lines of code. But when the offer came, so I had to go through interviews and written tests. It is just culturally in India, if you're given an opportunity, you go in and you take the test. I write a lot of exams and tests. I went in, I got selected. And when I saw the pay packet for somebody who was just finishing education, the pay seemed very attractive. As I said, cool, I'll go in and try this out for 6 months. and figure out what I want to do next. I wanted to go into the civil services. So that's how my career in tech started. I went in to try it for 6 months and I stayed on for 25 years. So when I joined, you're kind of trained in all the technologies for the first 6 months, and then you're assigned to a project. The project was about testing the code. So testing was not a big concept in the industry at that point, the quality assurance, the quality engineering part. So they only had time to teach us anything once you got into the project. It was a high stress, high visibility project. So they just put all us trainees into a little dingy room and said, go around doing some testing for the code that is going to the client. So I to test something, to break something, you need to know how an end user would use that. You need to understand the big picture, the business, and that got me hooked. I absolutely loved it. But rest of my team, or my colleagues, or my college mates, were very uh, upset that, I'm a computer science engineer and testing is beneath me, right? I should be developing code, was their attitude. So minute that probation period finished and they were given a choice, all of them jumped into coding. Whereas I said, I like doing this because I saw them working 8 hours to develop a piece of code that give it me to me to test. I would spend 10 minutes and I'll find like five faults, throw it over the wall and say, doesn't work. And I would have a break. I said, this sounds cool. I don't have to work too long, and finding faults seems to be my forte. So I'm going to continue doing testing. So guess what happened after 3 months of testing, and I used to spend a lot of my free time analyzing the code, understanding the business, etc. And I kind of became a subject matter expert in that. So after 3 months, the client suddenly said that we need somebody to test this in America,
Mm.
in New Jersey. We want a tester here. Guess who was available? Only one who had opted to do testing. So within a year of joining the company, with the special permissions right from the CEO, because there's a policy that you can't travel with before you complete an year, I was flown to America. And that was exciting, just out of college. You back I'm in America, and was the expert, right? And that gave me a lot of confidence. I was in rooms with a lot of senior men who were shocked to be challenged by somebody straight out of university. But that was my job. I had to tell something is not working, which was very offensive for them, because they have said, I have 20 years developing this code, but sorry, it really doesn't work. Like, you need to think about this algorithm. I enjoyed it, and I realized that if you're good at something, you have value at the table, right? They got to listen to you. So that was my initial days. I spent 2 years in the US working, first as a tester, then I went on to be a team leader and manage the other vendor teams as well. Came back to India, went on to be a project lead. But what was interesting in that transition was one of the opportunities they told me is you have to go there to UK to move a project from UK to India, the whole offshoring piece. And I thought it means it is consulting. You have to work with the client, understand the problem. My boss was supposed to go, and he had a family emergency, and he said, "Can you?" And I had no clue. I never done consulting before. Consultants are, we thought they're men in black with suits and boots and they walk in and they solve problems. I said, okay, it can't be too complicated. I am good at solving problems. All I need to do is listen to the client. So off I went to UK, and I came to UK for a period of 6 months. And I set up a framework on how you do that kind of transition, which became a proprietary framework going on. But it was just common sense, right? If you have to move something, I have to understand the application, how do you do it, and making sure that the transition is smooth. So that's my job, me moving into consulting. And then slowly I started leading. Once I transitioned to India, the teams, I had to grow it as an offshore test center. So I had a 200 member team. I was like a transformation manager for digital transformation. And then I moved to UK in 2013. And that's a different part of the story. There's a whole lot of challenges I faced. My entire confidence got demolished when I came here. I sadly encountered a bully of a boss. I had never
Mm,
experienced bully. I didn't know how to notice a bully, what I tell other women now. First step is to notice that you are being bullied. You have a
yeah.
certain stereotype idea of what a bully is, but they can be very artistic about it. They're so smooth. So when I came in, and I thought this could be no different. I have always worked in all these countries. But this person, for some reason, felt threatened,
Mm,
or had just an attitude. Maybe there was an unconscious bias, a bit racist as well. He had a feeling that only way to get work done was to threat, threat, threaten the team and
yeah.
make them feel scared, perform from fear.
Yeah.
And he started off from day one. He would get my work reviewed by a graduate who had joined the team. He would make the graduate run the meetings when he's not there. He so this kept happening, and within 2 months, I started doubting myself.
Mm,
I, After 15, by then I had 13 years of experience. And within 2 months, I was like, I'm not good enough. I'm not doing something right. My health went downhill. Uh, I had anxiety going into work. So it's only after that, when it came to a point where I said, I have to step away from this. I can't do this anymore. I had to internalize and understand why. And I realized that it was because of this behavior. Somebody else has made me feel insufficient. I had two options. One, whenever you face a bully, you either have the option to stand up to them or you walk away from them. And I don't think that is cowardice. It is also an option. There is no shame in walking away, because some bullies you can't deal with. You're not empowered, but you just put yourself first. So I chose to stand up to the bully. Thankfully, my boss was happy. He said, "Go ahead." That was the support I had. So I went and spoke to this client boss. I invited him to a room. He was a little surprised. I said, "Can we meet in the meeting room?" He walked in and we didn't sit down. And I said, "You need to tell me what's your problem in working with me." Nobody had ever challenged him. Nobody had
mm,
asked him. And he turned all red, and his immediate reaction was, "Why do you think there is a problem?" And I said, this, and this. You've done these things. And this is not professional. I needed to be treated with respect. And I don't feel I'm respected or valued. And just putting that out there punctured his bubble of power. Right. I could see the person shrinking, and he
mm,
said, "No, that's not the case." I said, "If you're going to work together, I need my space. I need to be treated as an equal. And these are the rules of engagement." He just said yes. And from then, you could just see the change in him, right? He would ask my opinion. He would, at the end of the meeting, he'll say, "Was that okay? Did I deal with the situation okay?" He did keep a grudge, because after a year, when there's an option where I could go back to a project, he said no, but that is fine. But that 1 year of the project, it went smoothly, it went on my terms, and regained my confidence. But what I see and what I would like other women to notice is to, when you feel that lack of confidence, when you feel low at work, you sometimes don't put your finger on what is causing that. You just blame yourself, right? And that was my learning point. Whenever I feel that I'm not good enough, I sit back to understand what led me to it. Imposter syndrome is something that they made a science and art of, for justifying systemic bias. Uh, and the minute you feel you're not good enough, they say, "Oh, that's because you have an imposter syndrome. You should go for a training." No, I have an imposter syndrome because I'm not seen or heard. Like I have been trying to share the opinion. You have not heard me in the meetings. You have not acknowledged me. You don't invite me. If you keep doing that, I would start doubting myself. So that is not imposter syndrome. That is you not giving me the time and space and visibility that I deserve. So always in that introspection is very powerful when you have that demolition of confidence. Uh, Sorry, I diverse. I stepped into something else,
No, no,
but I
I
can.
love what you said, Padma, because I always think this imposter syndrome is down to the system and not necessarily that every woman always feels an imposter syndrome. And I think, and I love listening to you because you had all these experiences along the way that got you to where you are today, where you're now helping other women transform. So 13 years in, you had that real challenge and you took it head on because you sat down and you explained what your reality was and you found a way forward. Then you worked another further 12 years before you set up your own advisory. So quickly give us a bridge of those 12 years that got you to where you are today. And then we will talk more about Transform with Padma.
So the next 12 years were exciting. So from there, I knew I, if I could adapt to something so new, I wanted to try different roles. So I got to know that there was a role available for marketing sales in Europe. So I went to the boss who was in charge for that role, and I said I want to apply for it. His first instinct was he laughed and he said, "How will you even get there?" Because I live in Dorset, which is southwest of
Mm-hmm.
England. And he was German and he would come into the large cities. He knew London and Manchester. He had not heard. So his first instinct was, how will you manage with your kid and travel, etc. And he asked this like with a few other leaders around, and it took I didn't like that approach. I don't know where I got the confidence at that time, and I said, I might take a boat or a tractor, whichever is convenient, but that's my problem, right? If I don't deliver, then you can ask me.
Yeah.
But all I'm asking is, can I apply for the role? Uh,
Mm.
and he said, oh, yes, yes, of course. And eventually I did. What he didn't know is I have an airport half an hour down from where I live, which connects me to Europe. But would he have asked the same thing for to another gentleman who was applying if he was in another city? So many times leaders' intent is to support you, but they end up patronizing you with the sense of concern, which is
Yeah.
not rightly placed. I know
And
you care for me.
preconceived notions towards women, our different roles, and how we
Yes.
manage and not manage. Yeah.
And from that day, I made up my mind, nobody tells me what I can't do.
Mm.
And that has helped me a lot in my entrepreneurial journey now. I'm open to advice. You can tell me these are the pitfalls, these are the dangers, this is how you should, but you don't tell me that I can't do it. I'm not taking that from anyone. So yeah, then after that, I did quite a bit of role across Europe, Ireland, etc. I was doing the sales role. It was very interesting being a woman in the sales role. Now there are a lot more women from but when I started 10 years back, the very few and women who were actually putting in a lot of masculine energy into their roles, right from the way
Mm.
they dressed to their kind of language, uh, which was a little shocking for me because I believed I had to be myself, and it worked. I could still sell without having to talk that language, which I was not comfortable with. And I found my purpose after my second daughter. She was born in 2016, and I had my maternity leave. I decided I want to do something different. I didn't want to go back into the sales role. I didn't want to do quality testing or quality engineering. So I started looking around, and some leader who had seen me do work in India in the community sector, and he was the sponsor for our social impact program. Out of the blue, he called me and said, would you like to launch that social impact program in the West, in the UK? We have been very successful in India, but we couldn't do it so far in the UK. I just loved it because I was already doing it side of my table. And I said, yes. Next day he calls me and says, I don't think we should do it because I don't want to ruin your career because there is no money in it. There's no budget to run the program. There is no leadership support. It might just be a failure for you and it'll be a big dent in your career. I said, what does 6 months of my career matter in a longer span of time? If I don't try this, I'll never know and I'll regret it. I said, please let me do it. It's not on you, it's on me. I'm happy to take the risk. So I took up that role and went on to do that for the next 6 years. I set up the award-winning social impact program in the UK, went on to do it across 40 countries that our organization was based in, and all the awards that are tagged to my name today are all based on my role when I found my purpose. And that's what I tell women. It's hard to find purpose, be saying that find your purpose and work towards it. Not all of us have the option to leave everything to go after your purpose. So until you find that purpose, find the purpose in what you're doing. So for me, every day, quality analyst role, my purpose was I need to give quality product for the end user. And when it's a sales role, I need to solve the client's problem. So when I actually found my purpose come together, I was soaring. And the recognition, the industry recognition, the multi awards, etc., happened in the last 5, 6 years. And last 2023, time has flown by because until a few months back I was saying last year, but in 2023, 2024 actually, I decided to quit the organization at the peak of my career because my values didn't align that of my boss and the direction the organization was changing. It was a very hard decision. I had lots of tears, a lot of sleepless nights. I might have gone into a bit of depression, but it was such a difficult decision to make. Do I continue what I am doing, but not aligned to my values, which is women empowerment, equality, equal opportunities, or do I stand up for what I believe but give away my career? And that just one day when I had to take the decision, and I remember melting down. My daughter saw me. I have a 17-year-old and 8-year-old. I said I could do this. And I remember my 17-year-old saying, Mama, you'll never be happy if you did that. If I stayed on doing less of what I was doing before and not aligned to what I believed in. And I knew the decision I take that day is what my children will remember for rest of their lives when they face these difficult choices. That doing the right thing is not always easy,
Yeah.
but
And
it has
doing
to
the
be
right
done.
thing isn't always right for others, it's right for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I decided and I quit. And next few months, it was sudden lack of identity.
Mm.
It, for 25 years, right out of university, I had a title, I had a designation, and we get so hooked to it. And I always tell not just women, all people now that we tie ourselves too much to that identity. We are more, we had an identity before our jobs, we have an identity after our jobs. We are not our job. And that clarity, so for 3 months, I found it hard going to networking events to even because I didn't know how to introduce myself. Uh, but then I realized the liberty or feeling that I could be anything I want now. I could say things that I truly believed. I didn't have a ring fence, years of conditioning of being in a corporate of what should be said, be selling it the right way, that I use talking to the right audience. So that gave me the clarity in terms of this is what I want to create because I have gone through these experiences. I've got a lot of academic qualifications through the 25 years. I've done courses with Harvard, Stanford, with the Windsor LL Leadership Program, as well as LBS. And I said, I want to pool all this together and make it accessible for women. So they don't have to go through these 25 years of learning to figure out and then accelerate the journey. What if I could give it to them in a capsule of 12 weeks of how to transform themselves? That's how my entrepreneurial journey started, keeping in mind that nobody tells me what I can't do.
Padma, and you set up transformwithpadma.com. It's a website and it's a 12-week course. Tell us more about that.
Sure, it's a lot of thought gone into that program. It's based on the Triple E framework, which I created. The three pillars addressing all a wholesome aspect of women. So I have attended a lot of training programs, and the most common challenge I faced is you go into these programs, you come back feeling motivated and inspired, and you believe you're going to change. 2 months down the line, you're back into your old patterns, and life gets in the way, and that's it. The training program is a certificate on LinkedIn. Beyond that, it's not impacted your life. I would delve deep into what was the reason, and the fact that came out is there are factors that women have which holds them back. And I ran a survey how it has got about 350 responses. And what it says is we women have molded ourselves based on societal, cultural, institutional uh, biases and expectations, and that has defined what we aspire for ourselves. And if you can imagine this as wearing a backpack, and right from when you're 3 years old, you're collecting these little pebbles of opinions, well-intended opinions. It could be your parents, it could be your grandparents, of what you should, what you shouldn't do. Don't be greedy about for growth. Always put others before you. You should be humble. Don't speak of your achievements. So always be grateful for what you got. Don't ask for more. And these are all pebbles and stones, and these become bigger and bigger, and you've been carrying, and your backpack has become heavy. But since it's been growing over a period of time, we don't realize we're carrying this baggage. But what it has done is it has bent us forward. It bent because of the weight we carry. And from that line of sight, our vision is limited. And that's all we can aspire for. So I wanted to create a program that breaks down these self-limiting barriers so that it has lasting change. This is what brings us back to patterns, right? Can have the fantastic Harvard-based transformational program, but if you have not addressed your own self-limiting beliefs, you're not going to adapt it. So that is the first part of the Triple E framework, which is the explore. It's groundbreaking for many women who it's emotional, it is uh, physical. People have got relief from neck pain and shoulder pain because they've been carrying this tension for so long. The next part is the actual empower piece, where you look at what is the visceral vision, what is that goal you want to go for, what does that peak of the mountain look like, and coming up with your 90-day velocity plan of how you get to that. Now, how do you get to it if you're doing the same old patterns, if your habits are the same? So I do an inner habit reboot, which runs alongside breaking down those patterns so that this is supportive of what you want to achieve. It could be diet, it could be physical exercise, it could be how you manage your time, your productivity, etc. Because burnout is so real. Women don't realize we are burnt out. We are burnt out, right? But it's not we are burning out, we are burnt out. We are operating from a place of empty battery. I don't know how many of us will end of the day when you lie down, it's like you've been holding your body together with willpower, and then you just let go. And you don't even sleep well because you're still thinking of what to do next day. So that how we don't want women to be doing more and more of the same thing, burning out and overwhelmed. So that is the inner reboot. It's I bring in a lot of spiritual factors as well into it. When I say spiritual, it is self-awareness, identifying the patterns that hold you back, etc. So you do that piece, and then comes the elevate. The elevate pillar is about creating your brand. What in this virtual world, we are not going to be still saying, doesn't matter what other people think. It does matter because it's not easy for your work to be seen and noticed and rewarded unless you speak about it.
Yeah.
And how many women talk about what they aspire for? Does their team, do their bosses even know that they want that role? We don't express it. We think they will notice how good I am. They're going to come and offer me this job. It doesn't happen. You need people talking for you in rooms that you're not there. That's where the growth happens. And that happens through your brand. And it is in your hand, right, which makes it very empowering because yeah, earlier days when there was no social media, it was all based on who knew who in the office. You felt helpless because how do I break into this network? How do I break into this circle? But now you have the power to build a brand of your own. So people will actually quote you and bring you into the conversation. They cannot, you have to be so bright and bold and glittering that they can't ignore you anymore. So that is making you seen and heard. And that's the elevate. And in the last 8 months, I have applied it on myself to see it works. I'm speaking to you today because of the brand that I created. You wouldn't have, I wouldn't have been a guest on your maybe 10 year back because I wouldn't have bothered to, you wouldn't know who I am except another tech women, and I wouldn't think I need to be on a podcast. But this is it's not comfortable to be on a podcast to talk about your life and how do you present. So these are all conscious changes as part of my Elevate brand, and this is creating a new avatar. So these are the three main pillars that I work with women, and so depends on how which part of the life journey they are in. We spend more time in one versus the other, and it's a pure 12-week initiative. There's a lot of work they also put in, and it's transformational. So I want what happens is your trajectory, your career trajectory elevates with, and your personal well-being is grounded, right? Grounded in a good way, not in the punishment. What we all need is a sense of safety from where we operate. And that's my aim with your personal well-being.
Padma, and it goes hand in hand. And what you said earlier, I think is so true. And I hear this all the time. I've interviewed more than 500 women now, and I hear this all the time. We women are so inclusive. We always say, oh, it's the team's effort, the team and we never really point out our achievements. Of course, it takes a village and it takes a team, and nobody gets where they are today alone. But we need to learn to point out the unique things that we bring to the table, and we need for other people to see that in order for us to get remunerated for what we bring to the table. So it really resonated what you said, Padma. So I understand. So this is a group program, or these are one-on-one? How do you work?
Both options are there. So the predominant clients I have are one-on-ones, but there has, since the price point is slightly higher, I have had women who said, can we do something at a lower price? So I have a cohort, it's called the Her Circle of Influence. It's a small cohort of 6, and it runs through the same duration. And what happens as being part of a cohort is you become part of an enriched network. That's exactly what men have, right? You can pick up the phone and call somebody in company and say, I need this done. I want women to have that. A network of high influence individuals in other industries across companies, which you can leverage. Like you develop your own black book.
Yeah.
And that's the objective of creating this her circle of influence. And people assume that this network happens organically. It doesn't. So I spend a lot of time in a networking strategy in saying, kind of graphically depicting how your network today looks like to achieve what you need to. Where are your gaps? So going to random networking events doesn't help. People say, I do a lot of networking, but nothing comes of it. It's draining. So, but I said, no, you don't need 10 networking events. If you have the strategy and look at it and say, my gap here is meeting people from banking and finance industry who are in the procurement space. So where do these people meet? And you need to go there. So it's more strategic networking, which again addresses not burning out trying to attend 10 networking events. So these are the finer aspects of building this her circle of influence, which is a strategic network building activity.
Yeah. And you spoke about something very important here as well, Padma, which I hear all the time. It's that we don't necessarily ask help from other women. We don't therefore turn up vulnerably and authentically, and therefore don't make those connections. And men do this all the time, and they've been doing it very successfully for thousands of years, right? They invite each other, they share their proceeds, they share the accolades, they do this very successfully. Padma, so what insightful tips would you give to young girls coming into the tech industry now?
Be adventurous. There is, especially now, I was adventurous at a time when it was a very rigid career path. But given with the advent of AI and the gig economy market, there is more room for adventure. So don't have anything binding you saying, I will not do this, I will only do this. Immediately, you have eliminated a lot of choice in your sight of vision. So I would say come with a sense of adventure, keep in touch with your network, your uni school network, your university network, because we didn't have LinkedIn or social media when I left school, but thankfully I still have, and thanks to WhatsApp and people finding and putting it together. As an entrepreneur, I have been dipping into all those networks. So it is, you never know when it'll be helpful. And for women, especially, that camaraderie you have in school, university, etc., gives you a safe space where you can actually be your vulnerable self and tell them, this is my challenge. Do you know somebody who can help? Which you touched upon, Stephanie. I have experienced personally when I want to pick up my call or pick up the phone and ask for a favor. In the last 6 months, I've done a lot of that because I need, as an entrepreneur, I need networks. Initially it was so hard. Like I was like, I've not spoken to this person for 6 years. I'm just picking up the phone and I have to ask him a favor. But it was so easy when I did it with men. When I call my colleagues who are men, they just picked up from where they left off and they said, yes, tell me what you want. And yeah, I'll connect you with this because I realized they have been doing it. Men do that, right? Within, they don't think about, I've not spoken to them for 10 years. They'll pick up the phone, buddy, can you do this? My friend is arriving at the airport. Can you pick him up? Whereas we think, oh gosh, we didn't maintain this, we didn't talk to them. And so don't do that. If you ask for help, you're opening up the door for them to ask help from you too. And that's maybe a biggest help you're offering by telling them, I want help and I'm here if you need help. And that is one level of your mental health addressed. Trying to do everything on our own is so tiring. And because I have a chronic health condition, I have ME, chronic fatigue syndrome with fibromyalgia. I had to learn this early on. I couldn't do school runs and a meeting and do the normal things. Sometimes I can't cook. So I learned to ask help. I would call parents and say, can you pick up my daughter today? Or ask my friend and say, can you bring me dinner? It was hard initially. I felt like helpless. Then I realized I had to survive. And now I feel very empowered to know that I can actually ask for help without having those emotions because everyone does. And it has made me feel less guilty about it or make myself feel less of myself in so all of so just be open and ask for help. uh, Nobody, do you think about it? Like if somebody asks you help, do you sit and think, this person has not spoken to me and she's asking for help? If you don't think, they will also not think. So just offer that and be open to receiving help, and slowly you're building that network of goodwill.
Yeah, I love that you said that, Padma. And I think it's literally you are robbing yourself of a connection. You're robbing the other people the opportunity to give you help and be connected. So that's how I'm trying to turn it on a head and look at it exactly like this. Padma, you really care about being an advocate for social sustainability, social inclusion. How can we ensure greater social economic mobility and equality in your mind?
Providing the two parts to this. One is some responsibility that we women take in our own hands and expressing what we want, what we need, what we'll not compromise on, showing up, being heard. If you're not heard, bring back the conversation to yourself so you are heard. So that plays a big part in us not having just seat at the table. I think we are in a good place now. We do have seat, not as many, but we have. But those who are at the seat are still struggling to be heard and seen.
Yeah.
So that's one piece. The second is the systemic changes that need to be in. And I'm doing a TED talk in October, and the topic is, do organizations expect conformity at the cost of belonging? And that is exactly what organizations need to do. Create environments where people don't need to try and fit in, change themselves to be accepted. Because that leads to burnout, that leads to attrition. It's not good for the organization, especially when you have such talent challenges now. You need to retain and nurture your talent, and that has to be diverse. AI has opened up the world. You cannot do your old boys club or I know somebody and we will sit together and create the next innovation. Innovation needs diversity. You need people at in those rooms, at those tables, which make those decisions about AI and influence of AI on society and community. So you cannot have an AI developed for Japan without any authentic Japanese who are offering their opinion, which has actually happened. There are case studies where it has misinterpreted so much of the Japanese culture. So I think that is so important. It is not a perk anymore, belonging. It is important for the organization's own survival, sustainability, and getting that competitive edge. So, and which means you got to have inclusivity, not just gender or about persons with disabilities, but even generational inclusivity. The heads of organizations are in the 60s or 50s. Your Gen Alpha who's going to join are going to be a native digital learners. So they're going to be 21 who come in with a completely different approach to life. They're not going to operate from a space of loyalty and gratitude, which my generation, oh gosh, you gave me a job. I'm so grateful. I'm going to burn myself out for you. Your win is my win. It was very personal. They don't. They're going to be here. They will do work as long as aligned to their values. If it feels it's against the values, they will move away. So you got to nurture them. So I think there is a systemic piece, there is the inclusivity and belonging that you need to build. And then we women ourselves have to get our voices heard and not just take it upon ourselves that it's just a meeting, it's just my opinion. We need to stop using the word just in anything we say, because what we bring to the table is more than just a viewpoint.
Just and should. Yeah, I always think those are the two words that we need to eliminate. Padma, you said so many important things. So, yes, and it almost deserves a pause to say, yeah, everything you said is so important. Padma, what if you could have a direct line to our government? What do they need for us people to survive this tech revolution that we're seeing right now? What are the things that we need our government to decide, put into law, so we can function as people in this tech world?
If I go with the standard 3 points, the first one is investing in the education. Our education system is not catered to the jobs and skills in demand for the future, not in future, for now. So our children are at a disadvantage, especially in the UK, because I think the other countries are more agile. They kind of adapt to the changes. So we might be in a place where our children in the UK will be competing with the world of for competition and not have the advantage. So we need to have education revisited, mandated that one of the options to do this is always it's hard for the education to completely revamp itself. But imagine if every corporate in the country adopts a local school and says we will provide the required skill sets to those schools as part of their CSR or the corporate social responsibility, social impact, whatever, the ratio is skewed. There are more corporates. If every corporate has got 3 schools, you're addressing the problem. And that is a very easy mandate for the government to do. The second one is for providing the pathways for children and women and those from disadvantaged backgrounds to be able to even aspire for these careers, the change that is happening. What's happening today is many people who have no access to Wi-Fi, they don't have access to data, they are left behind wondering, that's not for me. Right? They can only aspire for things that they can see, and they are not seeing role models like them doing jobs like this. So my biggest piece on social mobility is create awareness so they can aspire. How will they aspire for something that they're not aware of? So take in role models, create opportunities that those from communities who have generational unemployment get an opportunity to step out of that and see that this is an opportunity. And tech is an equalizer. AI is an equalizer because first time it's democratized. So if somebody just provides a little guidance, people who are aspirational will grab onto it and grow with it. The third piece is the having people in the rooms and tables where decision support technology are made for them. This happening in isolation by few people, right now, that's how it is. The power of AI, the power of change, power of decision making is with few powerful people. And that is not going to reflect well or support the community or the world on its own. So having that representation, the diverse representation in those discussions is very important. And that is again something the government can mandate in terms of as policies, that no decisions are taken in isolation. So some of the big changes in the industry should be done in consultation with community, with students, with women, with those in healthcare, before that gets implemented. If that's not done, it is still going to happen, but it's going to happen in a rogue manner. And then the government will have no way to control it.
Yeah, and I think they need to step up and do decisions in real time, right? The things
Yes,
that are happening right now, we can't debate them for the next 5 or 10 years. We have to
exactly.
take decisions, and those decisions have to be for the greater good, i.e., the voices that are impacted need to be at the table.
Absolutely.
Padma, what are your sacred habits that help you stay aligned with yourself? You talked about having a chronic disease. I think many people in the world suffer from one thing or another because of exactly those molds that we had to fit ourselves into, where people have either mental health issues or anything, because those kind of stresses, they will reflect in our physical well-being one way or another. So what keeps you aligned?
I love myself, and I believe I deserve the attention, care I need, and that didn't come easily. So I had a very bad episode of panic attack when I was in India in 2000 and must be 12, when I collapsed in the office and I was blue lighted to the hospital. My daughter was 10 months old. And my first thought was, I'm not going to see her. How will she ever know her mom? And then I got to know it's panic attack, and panic attack happens to high stress people. I'm actually enjoying my work and I'm so good at what I do. Why did I get a panic attack? What I didn't realize is you can be stressed doing things you love. You might be
Mm.
enjoying it, but doing too much of what you enjoy without giving your body and mind a break is pushing it over. So just because you say, oh, I actually work on Instagram and I party and go into launches and this is a fun job. Imagine doing that on and off with lack of sleep, with eating junk food, you're not going to make it. So that was a big call to action for me to introspect my well-being on mental health. And so I went down multiple paths of art of living. I did meditation. I do a lot of breathing, different forms of pranayama, the India-based breathing, yogic breathing techniques. That gives me a lot of grounding. Even before a big event in when I go into London, I take a few minutes outside and do my breathing to ground myself. So that attention to my health has helped me navigate my health condition. So I hear myself saying, I'm tempted to go in for this big event, but if I listen to my body, I'm in a lot of pain. I know if I do this, I'm going to collapse. The next few days, I'm going to be bedbound. I have learned to say no. uh, it hurts a lot initially, even now, because when I have 3, 4 weeks of flared up symptoms, I feel, gosh, I'm missing out on so much in life, and people forget me, they don't see me, they don't miss me. But then I have to believe that what is important is my family has me, and it has helped me prioritize things in life. So learning to say no has helped me navigate lot of stresses and balance my life to what is important to me. And the third is the ability to ask for help.
Mm.
Uh, I openly ask for help. Even then, I have a lot of friends who don't ask back help, and I tell them, "Do you want food?" They're like, "No, no, no, it's okay. We're coping." But if anybody calls me and says, "Would you like me to send over food?" I'll say, "Yes, please." It'll help. It'll help me. One day of not doing it will give me energy for another day. So being open to help, and most of all, I have a lot of faith. I'm very spiritual. It's not religious, but I'm very spiritual about there are things that are beyond our control. The universe happens. If you have the faith, if you have the clarity of mind, purity of heart, and spontaneity of action, you let go and things will fall in place. So earlier things that I used to be very frustrated about, or I fret about how will this turn out and what can I do to fix it. Nowadays, before I go to bed, I just write it down next to my bed and say, I'm really worried about this, and can you help me get through this? I leave it next to my table. And it's not that it'll get solved, but just that I've said the problem is beyond me. I'm letting the universe take care of it, and I go to bed. And that has been magical. I've seen miracles. I'm not talking miracles of healing, but miracles are in small things where
Mm.
you don't miss the train, you're running late, but the train is held up for 5 more minutes, you make the train. You start seeing and noticing miracles when you slow yourself. Miracles in everyday life. And
allowing
that gives you
allowing the
more.
flow of life. Yeah.
Exactly. And I love pausing and appreciating and the power of gratitude. I use the term radical gratitude. Yeah, when things are really hard, it's hard to find gratitude, but I do. And I say, today I'm here and it's hard, but I know I've got the support. I know there is the power beyond me taking care of this, and I submit myself. So that gratitude is my biggest tool getting past challenging times.
Padma, what takeaways would you like our audience to have from your story?
Love yourself. You deserve it. Uh, it is hard sometimes to spend time for yourself because you have been conditioned for ages to feel guilty when you do something for yourself, or put yourself ahead of others. But what use are you if you are not happy and fit, that to be able to give that love and care for somebody else? So one, you deserve it. You love yourself, and work on those self-limiting beliefs. You may not even know they exist, but we all have it. So knowing that is very empowering. The second one, choices are hard, but just remember you always have a choice, because sometimes life feels hard and dark, and you feel you're cornered. But I always say, if you look hard, there is a choice. It's just that the choice is so hard and difficult that you don't want to see it. But just knowing that there is choice is liberating. You know, you don't have to put up with whatever you're going through, however hard it is. I have worked with women going through domestic abuse who stay on because of the children. And it does feel like you're damned for life and you're stuck, but you're not. A minute they see that there is an option, there your children will be safe, you will be safe, but it's going to be very hard. You have to go through legal system, you have to go through the government, but knowing that there is choice is empowering, it's liberating. And the third is to work towards finding your purpose in everything you do. I'm not telling you have the big picture of purpose of I'm going to change the world. That's a blessing if you do get it and we going towards it. That's everyone's life motive. But finding your purpose in what you do every day. If you're a cashier at Walmart or a Tesco, there is a purpose. And if you know that if I don't do this, there is going to be a longer queue, it's going to delay for somebody else. That might be the only point of interaction for a customer with another human being. They may be lonely. So if you're able to smile and talk to them and you receive the same thing, immediately you feel the sense of purpose. You actually brought joy. So even the smallest of interaction, whatever your job is, you find a purpose in it and immediately it transforms your day. So these three are tools which are within your control. It's not hi-fi. You don't need to go for a training, or you don't need money to have this. These are tools and uh, thoughts and which will empower you to manage your day-to-day life without feeling overwhelmed or burnt out.
Yeah, Padma, I love what you just said. And I always think we know that human connection and this feeling that we are giving back, even in the smallest ways that you just described, that makes people happier and that makes you healthier. And I think it's much more powerful than giving up smoking or giving up drinking or any of these other things that we think is an important step in improving our well-being. So Padma, thank you so much. I want everyone who listens, if this resonates, please look up transformwithpadma.com. The 12-week course seems an incredible way of empowering yourself, improving your well-being, really accelerating your growth personally, spiritually, and professionally. Padma, thank you so much for leading so beautifully by example for SheCan.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for having me. It's an absolute pleasure. And you can just book a 30-minute free call with me just to have a chat. I want more human interaction. I will learn something from you too over those 30 minutes. So thank you for having me, Stephanie. It's my pleasure.